Mm, mm, oh, oh, oh. Mm, mm. Oh, oh, oh. Mm, Zam. We sign up for. Oh, oh, oh. Mm, mm, oh, oh, oh. Mm, oh, oh, oh. What is this? Oh, that's trash. Oh, 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 oh. Quint. What is that? Where are you? Who knew it through the drum? Who the suit? No, it's not. Hey, man. Talking about it's a fly on. But, you know, Brian, you know, Brahma. Who knew it through the drum with a suit of armor? Bro, I'm streaming while having this get rendered, while having this get uploaded. Like, I'm gonna be on so high ping. This is not good. Got kicked up at a hotel. Yes. I'm confident I could. I'm gonna add my crosshairs to my screen, so let's see. I'm not even gonna be able to get into no games, bro.
Hi everyone, Dumpity Dum Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new A$AP Rocky album, Don't Be Dumb. Here we have the new, fourth, long-awaited, full-length album from New York rapper, actor, songwriter, conceptualizer A$AP Rocky. A record that has been in the making for years and years. In fact, Rocky said this thing was done like back in 2022. And yet, the gap between this and his last official album, Testing, almost spanned a decade. So clearly Rocky is not working up to the pace of many of his contemporaries who have very much surpassed him commercially in recent years. But still, you can't take away from the fact that Rocky very much gave us what was a cultural reset in the early 2010s with his classic cloud rap mixtape, Good Love A$AP, and then he effortlessly dished out some commercial smashes on his official debut album a few years later. But as good as that record was, and as promising as Rocky's career seemed to be at this point in time, he was kind of spreading himself thin early on, because not only was he sculpting his own sound and career, but he was also trying to turn the team he came up with into a larger force in music and entertainment, the A$AP Mob. In the early 2010s, rap cliques and collectives were very much back in style, but very few of them had the talent and vision to garner long-term interest outside of their core members. And this was very much true for the Mob as well, who additionally had to struggle with numerous members and affiliates moving on and putting their focus elsewhere. Some pretty key members of the A$AP Mob also passed away tragically over the years too, be it A$AP Yams or China. And there have even been internal tensions within the collective too, which recently boiled over into a pretty crazy court case that ended last year and had A$AP Relly accusing A$AP Rocky of shooting him. Now, A$AP Rocky was obviously found not guilty, but you have to wonder what something like that does to long-term friendships and creative partnerships. However, all this stuff is not even half, I would say, of what has been eating up Rocky's time and bandwidth in the past 10 years. He entered into a very public relationship with Rihanna, became a father 2 times over, was arrested and stuck over in Sweden for a considerable amount of time. He also spent time branching out creatively into film and fashion, and had multiple collaborations and recording sessions for songs that ultimately didn't end up making this album. Some of which leaked, some of which dropped officially, but again, didn't make the cut here. Also, for a while, it was rumored none other than Morrissey was going to be on this record, but yeah, he didn't end up on this thing. Bullet dodged there. Yeah, the timeline this record could have existed in But yeah, the idea that Rocky might be venturing into some unexpected or weird territory on this record is no real surprise, because his last album, Testing, seemed to mostly be dictated by this restless need to experiment. And it seems like Rocky didn't want fans to expect anything too predictable out of this project either, because, I mean, just look at the lead single to this thing, Punk Rocky, which at the very least does live up to the promise of being a rock track, although I wouldn't frame it as punk as much as I would like very reverby, bland Brooklyn indie rock from 2010. The sorts of forgettable, bland music log darlings that A$AP Rocky was a very refreshing alternative to at the time. And while I didn't really like it all that much, I guess at least he's not just rehashing his breakout mixtape sound, I guess. And in terms of how this album might sound, there wasn't really too much more to go off of other than, you know, a handful of leaks and some other tracks that didn't end up making it onto the final record, like the song Taylor Swift, which really listening to past this incredible, mind-blowing music video that if it came out today, you would think it was made entirely by AI, given all the zany shit going on throughout it. There was also Hijack featuring Jessica Pratt, which I loved. I wish it actually ended up on this album, but Jessica Pratt does end up on the closing track, the end to Don't Be Dumb, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Overall, I'm not really sure if Don't Be Dumb is going to be enough to bring Rocky back to the cultural prominence he once had in the early 2010s. The album isn't quite that good, I would say, but it's still a decent return to form and proof that Rocky can still put together a competent set of bangers when he wants to, as well as some of the most lyrically focused songs he's dropped in years. Don't Be Dumb does start off on a weak foot, in my opinion, with Order of Protection, a song that lyrically feels very much like an explanation or a mea culpa for having been gone for so long. And while it's assuring that Rocky is back for sure, could this have not been set to a bolder hook, or at least a beat that doesn't sound like I'm attending a funeral? Isn't this album an experience I'm supposed to be excited about? Thankfully, the momentum on this record picks up pretty quickly and stays high throughout much of the first half. The song Helicopter, in my opinion, is much more like it, a twisted trap banger with crisp claps, rollin' style cowbells, siren synths, and a beefy bass line. It's simple but effective, and Rocky continues to have slick bars, flows, unparalleled charisma for days. Then Stole Ya Flow is a track that he previewed in the midst of the Kendrick-Drake beef of 2024. It was his own track dedicated to Champagne Poppy, which it's important to remember that around this time, Drake was originally framing this battle, this beef, as a 20v1, because Metro Boomin and Future's track like that with Kendrick kind of opened up the floodgates and essentially made it okay for others to step in and start taking their own jabs too. And in my opinion, few were more justified in doing so than Rocky. There are literally Twitter threads dedicated to every single time in a lyric, a demo, a performance, whatever, Drake has bitterly brought up A$AP Rocky and Rihanna due to the fact that she doesn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. And some of these mentions came as recently as like 2024 and have been pretty constant over the years, as well as increasingly weird. So don't let the biased weirdos on social media or in the music media convince you that this track from Rocky is just coming out of nowhere. But yeah, lyrically on this one, Rocky is pretty focused, getting into his digs about Drake's cosmetic surgery, bombing at Tyler, the creator's Flognaw, Drake biting Rocky's style, being an absent father, and of course, he's with the woman Drake is very obsessed with, Rihanna. He's got to bring that up. And it's all set to a very nightmarish beat. And while I think it's a good track, one of the most solid here, in a way, I do think Rocky kind of let Drake off easy. But given where Rocky is right now and Drake, I don't know if he needed to do much more. Now, interestingly, from here, the record kind of lightens up a bit in terms of mood and attitude. We get Stay Here for Life, which is very much a track that's about falling in love. It's a cute little pop rap number with some super bright, smooth feature vocals from Brent Faiyaz, or at least they're said to be. Truth be told, Rocky has been kind of guarded coming out of the gate with the full feature and production list behind this album, though it's been said the keys on this track are sampled straight from Ken Carson's Mewtwo track. Clairo may have even recently posted on her Instagram story confirming that one of her songs is actually sampled in the title track of the record. One of the few true credits on the record actually just comes on the front cover with Rocky shouting out none other than Tim Burton, who had a very clear hand in the visual direction of this album, along with some of the music video visuals too. And I'm sure Danny Elfman came as a bit of a package deal with Timmy, as he was recently spotted even performing with Rocky during his SNL visit. Either way, this track is an incredibly sweet moment on the album, and it's just about a love that's getting very serious, very devoted, exclusive, and I love that Rocky is able to get these feelings and emotions across while giving us an instrumental and a style that is so indebted to Chopped and Screwed, to just Southern hip-hop in general. Again, I just love how these sorts of sounds and touchstones remain to be a major influence on him, regardless of what era he is in his career. And the song Playa very much doubles down on these lovey-dovey vibes too. The song essentially serves to dispel rumors around Rocky being a playa in the first place, and features a glistening, groovy beat. It's kind of like his own LL Cool J I Need Love moment. Things get grim and dark once again with No Trespassing, which is kind of like some grimy, murderous ear candy. And then following this, we have another highlight on the record, Stop Snitching, which is actually pretty focused, really Rocky's own take on the topic, and maybe kind of makes sense given the recent trial he had to go through. Instrumentally, the track gives off some devilish Houston vibes with a huge beat, woozy keys, dissonant horns too, and what's said to be a Sauce Walka feature where, dude, that guy gets completely unhinged here. Now, the second half of the record, comparatively speaking, is actually much more experimental and out there than the first. It seems like nearly every track on this section of the record is trying to subvert people's expectations in some way, but they really range in quality, in focus, and whether or not they come across genuinely interesting or weird. First off, we have the track STFU, which is this industrial noise rap banger that, dare I say at some points, sounds a little Death Grips coded. Features some freaky, aggressive, loud, over-the-top features, chaotic sounds coming at you from every which direction. But what I think keeps it from really hitting the mark is that it doesn't develop all that much over the course of its lifetime, and Rocky maybe raps on the track just a bit too normal. For a song that's so insane and over the top, he just kind of wants to sound way too cool, calm, and collected in it. Then we also have Air Force Black DeMarco, which I do think there is something to the very synthy, repetitive, almost rage-influenced rap passages, and then also the super pillowy indie ballad sections. But together they come across as like very oil and water and rocky. Maybe could have fixed that by coming up with an effective transition from one moment to the next. The track Whiskey does feel like Rocky is doing his best efforts to be that curator that we know and love, curator of vibes, of good, interesting guests on an LP. Because while Westside Gunn's vocals, as well as Damon Albarn's or Gorillaz 2D's vocals, are very prominently featured on this track, they don't really do much in this song other than provide a bit of filler and background noise, when their input, their creativity here could have been so much greater. Like on the song Robbery featuring Doechii, which is a really cool theatrical lounge jazz number with hand drums, upright bass, cocktail hour pianos, whispery rap vocals from Rocky, like him and Doechii are kind of sneaking into the event. Doechii's bars coming across really seductive and smart before her and Rocky just decide to sort of start robbing the place. It's a very interesting concept and one of the best here to say the least. On the two-part title track for this record, Rocky continues to explore his softer side and more blissful instrumentation, and while an eventual beat switch does keep things interesting, I think I would have much rather heard him kind of bring the original idea of this track to a really ambitious conclusion, rather than just kind of throwing whatever at the wall. Thankfully from here, though, we get a pretty strong closer, which, while I don't think the vague notions of what's wrong with the world right now come across from Rocky all that sharp in his lyrics, I do very much echo the song's sentiments that it does really feel like socially and culturally we are kind of at a breaking point right now. End times sorts of vibes for sure, with some very eerie refrains of "This is the way the world ends, this is the way the world ends," sung by a bull, with Jessica Pratt eventually kind of like, you know, following up on the back end of the song. It's cool, strange, unnerving, and linear progression that finishes off the album. But yeah, this record was a bit of a roller coaster. It had many hard-hitting, catchy, standout moments, but then some misfires too. At the very least, the misfires saw Rocky kind of like taking risks and trying new things. And what I'm hoping from here is that this is really Rocky coming back to us and just like getting things booted up once again, reminding us he can still make a project that's worth hyping up and talking about when he decides to do it. And I hope he decides to, again, with an even more impressive work sometime in the near future. Because while Don't Be Dumb was certainly a respectable project, was it worth the entirety of this wait? I don't know about that. Which is why I'm feeling about a light 7 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over. Hey buddy, did you hear the news?
I'm listening to that.
It's track review.
The solo series semi-finals, aka the heats, just ended. There's no flashy title for this video. I'll be honest, I just want to watch a bunch of people who qualified for grands and see what we can learn, see their play style, see some cool stuff. And the first one is, of course, begging Noah, really. So Noah's raw sort of choice is Humble Hills down here. I think have I even been to this POI? I don't even know. I'm a painted guy personally. This is my area. So I'm not really often down in this corner of the map. If you look at the map overall, you'll notice that he's obviously uncontested, but the actual position of this drop is really, really interesting. So Noah's over here. From this top house, you basically have vision all the way down onto whatever this POI is. I still don't know the POI names for this. Oh my god, Bumpy Bay. There we go. Onto the draw spots down here. You have all the draw spots down in this corner, which a lot of them will rotate up past you as well. So the fact that it's on like a slight little hill gives you a lot of surge tag opportunities onto the players just all the way around you. So off the rip, he does get a lot of like early surge tags just as he's farming, as he's looting, just on all of the players who are in the draw spots all around him. Something I don't think I talked about the last time I did like a full meta video with like buying big pots from mending machines. Everyone knows this is doable, but it's one of the reasons why I want to actually check is like how he uses his heals later on, right? So he buys 2 big pots here, he still has 350 gold left. He buys a little A armor with it left. So I think he intentionally here leaves 250 gold in case he gets tagged to a later date. I was gonna say a later date he can use a big one. I just realized he's popping one literally right now and then using the last one there. Okay, maybe not. Either way, if you're trying to like save some gold for later on, say you want to buy some ammo, it's probably a good idea to keep 250 because if you rotate to another POI at a later date, keep 250, buy one more big pot, and then keep yourself stacked up. I think I really like look at how ungreedy he is when it comes to like harvesting gear. He's on scouting to see what other players are, see if there's any common from that draw so that he can get a search tag on, or if they're going to rotate.
Bro, like, are these guys real, bro?
And then he peeks. Looks again, he'll go and scout. Is there anyone around? Anyone who's potentially pushing up? I don't want anyone lurking on me as I'm trying to like harvest, scout, and then goes back on. And he really repeats this over and over again. He's not just like farming. Like I feel like a lot of players are just like swing, break down all the walls and whatnot. He basically does like a couple and then goes and scouts, see if there's anyone rotating, tags. It's like very not greedy. It's a good way, of course, because surge is net damage. It's a good way to like not lose damage or just be snuck on and killed. If you watch Higgs play EU, you'll know that camping on mending machines is very, very good.
Let's go! Let's go!
Potentially camping from this little door, right?
Let's go!
Perfect right-hand spot. There's not a lot of these. Like all the vending machines don't particularly have like a camping.
Let's go!
If you just stand there and someone just like right crouch walks out while
let's
you're
go, baby.
Dead. So I wonder if Noah's been camped on here.
Let's go!
Anyway, buys a little bit more.
Let's go!
And of course, the surge game's one of those.
Let's go!
So cool. So I think spending gold on the AR one makes a lot of sense. However, he does start to get tagged here by Dom that rotates in front of him. So yeah,
let's
hits
go.
So that then forces him to use his storage juice, which if he had 250 gold, I don't know if it was really possible. I think it makes sense to buy the assault rifle ammo, of course. But had he kept 250 gold, he could use the big one, bought another one then, and kept cap heals for later.
What happened to my 200 chug jug?
Ball nowhere. So he's sitting in a bush.
Yo.
Best solo strats, of course, of all time. Same time, like the positioning is relatively good. This zone's pretty favorable for him, of course, dropping it a lot humble. And now he's rotated relatively deep. Where is the camera right now? Still, that bug's still there. Rotated relatively south, so he's kind of gone down this path here. So he went here to here, and then cut in a little bit. Of course, most players are going to start rotating up into the north side of the zone, so he's kind of playing the favorable south side here. And fourth zone is going to pop.
Why is zone moving so fast, man?
Instantly he rotates straight into it. Of course, he is looked at. These kind of zones where, of course, the longer you wait, the more people are just going to rotate straight in. This kind of early rotate he's making right now down in this spot is very, very nice. You just get tagged by a bunch. The problem with the area, though, is just so open. Right? Like, if you want to try and rotate deeper, there's so many players already set up in front of you. I mean, going into a POI generally is kind of like that, right? There's always so many people set up. You could kind of cut across into the congestion, run through the buildings, but there might be people camping. It's tough. So I think in this spot, it takes an opportunity
It's
to
5 tick, bro.
build up like a couple brick boxes.
I'm dead. I'm dead as zone again.
You can't really re-farm anywhere unless it goes into like this building. However, from here, now because he's on the like slight north side of the zone, up in this spot here, all of these players are going to rotate into his position. So he's a lot of research.
Bro, what just happened?
In that position, it's not great. So what would be good, we'll see what he actually does. I've not waited yet. Is to see if he gets like a bunch of tags on all these players rotating, and then when the zone's like here, halfway in, he maybe cuts a little deeper in, get away. Maybe that's a little too aggressive. Maybe he'll lose HP as he does that. But that would allow him to get a bunch of the storm surge tags and then rotate before everyone starts to get congested on him. Okay, so unfortunately, the fifth zone holds absolutely nice distance for him. Could not be any worse. So he does the smart thing and instantly hits the quick rotate. Now this is pulling